In times of uncertainty, the well-being of your loved ones becomes your top priority.
Days of heavy rains across the southern state of Rio Grande do Sul, triggering massive floods.
Mandatory evacuations are in place in areas around Houston, Texas, as a major river there quickly rises.
And when the world feels unpredictable, MonkeyWorksPrep.com is here to help you secure peace of mind. Through our affiliate program with My Patriot Supply, MonkeyWorksPrep.com provides you with the supplies to prepare for any situation. From long-term food supplies to smaller prepping kits, you will have everything you need to take care of your family. Because knowing you're prepared is more than just planning. It's about spending time without worry, knowing your loved ones are taken care of. Visit MonkeyWorksPrep.com today.
All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. It's going to be your SITREP. It's 8/13/2024 as we come to you live here from the Monkey Lounge in the great state of Texas. As we get into the deets, the Navy is flexing hard all around the world, getting stretched thin. And every indication looks like our main focus is going to be on the Middle East. Okay. And it looks like we are just taking everything we have from a military asset and the Navy and pushing it all into the Middle East. How we avoid conflict here, I don't know. But I will tell you, if you go look at what Flashbang is going this weekend and some other little quirky things that we need to talk about, things are going to get really interesting. Remember, we are probably, 90 days out, maybe less, from this election. And so the closer we get, the greater the risk, I believe, to come up against Trump, as well as just everything that's going on in the world. It just seems like we've got this powder keg that is getting ready to explode. Middle East looks like that is going to be the focal point. But don't take your eyes off Ukraine, because there's a lot of stuff going on there as well. And then the China piece. I'm going to talk to you about all this activity we've been watching off the West Coast. And it confirms exactly what we said they were doing, and looking at the ships. And we'll look at that closer here in just a minute as well. So without further ado, let's jump over here to our board. And we're looking at MIL aircraft only, currently up over the United States, 271. I've stripped out all the trainers. The interesting piece, 45 H-60 Blackhawks. But look at this. I don't think I've ever seen them this thick up in this part of the United States. Strange, very strange. All right. Then we look at the KC-135s. You look at the air refueling activity going on, and you can see it is pretty active and busy over the United States. That's 25 KC-135s. Let's go take a look at the, we'll add in, those would not be, there they go. 12 more B767-200 Pegasus. Those are also air refuelers. Remember, this is a big indicator that we've got a lot of fighters going on over the United States. All right, a lot of fighter activity. But look at that. That's just an insane number. So 34 on the screen, not the highest we've seen, but it is still very high. We'll look at Europe real fast just to see what we've got going on. Looks like some air refueling there over the coast on, I guess, in the UK. Another one here a little further north. So both sides of England, looks like we've got some air refueling that would, again, indicate we've got fighters up over that region. Okay. Now, let's do this. I'm going to take us out of that side. We're going to get into our watch list. Just so you can see, look at this one headed back out towards that left coast up near Portland. They looking at the Cascadia Fault? I don't know, a Cascadian Fault. But notice you got some E6s. You got the nuke sniffer that's up yet again, headed outbound. You've got the DOJ. Jenna is up. Jenna 2. All right, so that's the head of the DOJ. And then you can see Q9 drone down there near the southern border of California. And also you can see more intel work over kind of the Biggs Army Airfield area. That's the Glex piece, call sign Glex. All right, this Lasai Aviation is who that is. And then we get over to Europe, and this, just notice, it's kind of strange that these things squawk this emergency squawk, but these are all drones. Turkish drones, by the way. Just racked and stacked there. Crazy. All right, let's talk intel, surveillance and reconnaissance, ISR. Very strange flight pattern. I don't know what to make of it. Honestly, it's just very strange. Something is amiss, and maybe it's because the mil intel balloons are all kind of sorted together, but and they're just trying to fill that gap. Not really sure. But just notice too, the Baltic Sea, we got low-level drones, we got high-level drones, some Q4 work, and then you can see I'm looking very closely at Crimea. That's probably because of the nuke plant that is on fire there, a very large one. We'll talk about that here in a minute too. But you can see coming out of South Korea, headed down to Okinawa, then also down into the Philippines. So very busy from a last 5 days from an ISR perspective. And then continuing on with the ISR, this is your drones. Very strange, very light. But notice you get over here over DC, notice how they are very active over the Washington, D.C. side. I'm going to show you some NOTAMs. They've extended the size of the ring over Washington, D.C., which worries me a little bit because that tells you that they're worried about something. Now, look at this. Again, this is a Q4 drone, high altitude, that is squeaking in, doing some ISR work. You can see it in the normal locations we've been watching over the last week and a half in terms of the Q4 activity coming out of Malta. But then notice the low altitude drones that are over Turkey. Very low altitude stuff over the Mediterranean also. That's a continuation. We see that a lot. They're looking at the ships. All right, and then some stuff out of Bahrain. And then you can see a little blurb there in Japan and Okinawa. All right, now let's talk sub-hunters. The interesting piece is that don't see a lot of activity associated with the Southern California exercise. And we'll have to look at that closer in a minute, but very strange not to see them out here. I would expect, given that the Navy has got a very large exercise going on there, that there would have been some kind of P-8 activity, but nothing. All right. Now you can see the ones that are running down to kind of the Gulf of Mexico side of the house. Look at this one here. Notice coming out of the UK, but looking over the Irish Sea, low altitude. And you get down, of course, the Middle East is, look how busy this is from a sub-hunter perspective. Notice they're operating in and out of central Saudi, but they're looking very closely at Israel. You can see a lot of stuff going on out over the Persian Gulf and over and around the Gulf of Oman. And then you get down here, you can see some things happening in the Philippines, down into Australia. All right. Okay, that's going to be your sub-hunters. Let's look at the R-135s. This SIG intel, this, again, I'm telling you, they have got to be triangulating some stuff going on up there. Where I don't see it is all of that exercise off of the left coast. So this, again, looking at Belarus. Remember, Belarus just moved a bunch of troops down towards the Ukraine border. So something is afoot right up here, okay? Now, also, you can just see, looking very closely at what's going on there in Ukraine over Crimea, all right? And nothing from, Asian side of the house. Okay, now this is the E6. Okay, you expect to see that. Large exercise concludes, I think, tomorrow. And but like I said, I was expecting to see more out of the R-135 community or something. Now, this is going to be your AWACS. Big piece here is, just notice, very active in Hawaii. A little blurb down here, so they must be really kind of wrapping up this exercise because we're not seeing the huge influx from the AWACS side. Now, remember, this is advanced warning, so they're looking for nukes. Now, this is, again, very concerning because I've seen them up in Alaska doing this quite a bit. That means they're worried about some nukes very close to Alaska, which would be Russia. Okay, and then we get over to Europe, and you can see the normal spots, but they're just kind of hitting these points along that eastern flank towards Russia, then this is very unusual for Australia. This is a 5-day roll-up. I typically see a ton of AWAC activity when it comes to Australia, and there's nothing. Very strange. And then this can be the Ruskies. Big point, you see something flying into Crimea where I don't see any activity. I see them going into Qatar, but I don't see them going into Iran, right? So we did see that last time, and then we saw some Iranian IL-76 aircraft, cargo aircraft, the Russian-made ones, go into Lebanon. And they killed the transponder for that one. So, but we did get confirmation that they were on ground there. Okay. All right. Now, as we go through that, I want to show you the air refueler aspect because this gets really interesting. Notice the thick traces into the Middle East. Very thick. That tells you we are moving fighters in, continue to move fighters into the Middle East. We already know F-22s, F-35s, F-18s are all heading in. Just notice broken traces headed down into an area that's probably going to have a lot of fighter activity here shortly. But see these broken traces here over Iraq, probably supporting missions into Syria. But here we go. Look at the trace lines across the drink. Right? That's a big, big indicator that fighters are going across because they don't have enough fuel to get across the drink. Therefore, they need the air refuelers to help them. Now, this is part of that exercise, as you can see, out over the Southern Pacific. That ties to this. Massive Chinese-focused air combat exercise underway. We'll look at that closer here in just a minute, but that is exactly what we're looking at here. All right. Oh, let's see. Yeah, we'll come back to this. Let's look at the C-17 activity because this also, just like the tankers, tells a story. Just notice all the broken traces coming out of Hawaii, very active across the United States. But the thing that you should catch your eye, we see a little one down to USVI, pretty regular. Look at the amount of traffic going across the drink last 5 days. I think it's about 292 flights, C-17. So these are long-haul cargo. But you can really see that spaghetti as you get into Ramstein and then going across into the Middle East. So we're moving a ton of assets. When you see the fighters go across, typically you'll have some C-17s or somebody else like Omni bringing things into the region because they have flyaway kits that go along with these squadrons and maintenance and repair stuff that they need. So they have to support logistically all of that fighter activity, okay? So then that brings us over to the Omni aspect. And this is Cargo Management, Inc. So it's Air Transport International, Omni, it's several. The big takeaway here is, one, we see DoD troop support, but we also see immigrant stuff tied into this. Notice all the stuff. You got it in Haiti, across the northern end of South America, all into Central America, and a flood of it coming into the United States. Now we get across over to Europe, and it's very obvious that they are moving things, it looks to be, all to our base locations across Europe and into the Middle East. Yeah. And then you can see some stuff down there into Southeast Asia, right? You got, it looks like Malaysia, Singapore side of the house, right? Okay. Now, let's get into what's going on in the news from that standpoint. We're going to start off over here on this. There's an interesting thing here, and the reason I'm pointing this out is because every time we hear about these weird press conferences, like the big boy press conference, what happened after that, right? Well, we had an attempt on Trump, okay? And then we just had something with this aircraft that had an issue, a maintenance issue, hydraulics. And that, I don't know, the jury's still out on that one, but wouldn't surprise me, okay? And then we have this aspect that you can see, the Biden cancer moonshot. So killing cancer, basically, is what they're saying. Very strange. You get over here to this side, ending cancer as we know it. All of a sudden, he's going to hang his hat on this. It's just a strange name to call it. I almost wonder if they're not talking in code yet again. So eyes on Trump. We'll see what happens here. But The other piece to this is, let me just show you, if I get over here to my radar very quickly, I want to just look at the size of the ring over Washington, D.C. now. This thing it used to be this. Now they've got this extended ring, very large TFR over D.C. That's concerning because that tells you something is afoot. Then you've got this. That's the bunker, right? So that's Flashbang headed to, yeah, you guessed it, his bunker up here, Camp David, this weekend. Okay. Then also notice that after that, he's going to be headed to, wow, that's Obama land up here in Chicago. Little rings tell you that they're probably both going to be there in terms of Flashbang and Bob Marley. Okay. And then it looks like Flashbang's headed down there. And this is where he's going to do his moonshot thing, his discussion. So just pay attention because they do talk in code quite a bit, and you'll hear him. Have you noticed that ever since he has announced that he's not running any longer, that all of a sudden all of his gaffes and his stumbling and all kind of went away? There's little ones here and there, which you would expect. I do it myself. But the big ones where everybody was like, oh, this guy's an embarrassment. Was it an act? He told us he was going to bail out because some kind of medical thing. And now all of a sudden here he is having this medical thing and he's stepped aside. So there's a lot of strangeness going on with all of this, all right, including the Harris campaign using AI footage behind them to make a crowd appear that is not really there. So very, very strange, or to beef up a crowd. Okay, well, look, this is what we're walking into. U.S. records the second biggest July deficit in history as 25% of our tax revenues go to pay interest, and it's accelerating. So this is going to be probably what they hand Trump if we have an election, if he gets to that point and he actually gets in. This, every sign that we are in a very, very bad place, all right? When you have this kind of just 25%, a quarter of your tax revenue going to pay just interest alone, then it tells you we are on a path that is probably irreversible, and that this is, again, it's writing on the wall. So buckle up because it's going to get really interesting. Yeah. Okay, look at this. Here it is. The Trump plane diverts due to mechanical issues. Does it happen? Yes, it happens a lot. But this right here is something that we need to pay very close attention to because you can go, remember the Wagner guy that somebody threw, something into the cargo hold? It doesn't take much to bring an airplane down, folks. And just got to pay close attention. Is this or was this sabotage? And maybe not. I will tell you, as an A&P and with a lot of engine experience, this stuff happens. It does. So bird strikes, there's all kinds of different things that can happen. Was it any type of catastrophic deal where, he was at risk because of hydraulic fluid catching on fire or whatever? No, not at all. This was just a small incident, but it is just a reminder that there are no limitations when it comes to what these folks are capable of. Okay. All right. And then again, we get back over here. This is going to be your NOTAMs. This is the area we talk about the danger box and the stuff that's been going on down in this region. Along with this exercise, the exercise confirms what we thought when it comes to this. Speaking of exercise, let me just back over here to the right side of the U.S. That's a missile box here. This is the same area that we just so happen. Notice this, that it's some type of operation going on out here, exercise scheduled. This is the same spot. We've got some of the intel balloons hanging out over this area also. And of course, the Middle East is, we're watching, eyes on Israel today, because this is the day that Iran said they were going to take a shot. It's the 9th of Av. Not familiar with that date. That is the same date that Israel has had some very bad things happen to them. They've lost both their temples on the 9th of Av, as well as some other stuff. So big day there, just eyes on the Middle East. We'll continue to watch that. And then you get over here. This is what we were just saying. This Bamboo Eagle was the exercise. We saw the conga lines and everything headed down to the left coast. But you can see a lot of fighter activity, as they get into this. But we're down to, I think, the last day. And but it confirms exactly what we said they were doing out there and have been doing with this shipping lane. If you get out here to this side, you can see all the ships that pass, and you see things that come in and go into this area inside of the Gulf of California, okay? But this is where that exercise is taking place, and this is their focus. And it has been. This is why those danger boxes are there. It's why the R-135s go out, the AWACS. They are very concerned about ships, right? And when you start talking about the ships, you start talking about things like Club Ks. The fact that we didn't see any P-8s out there tells you that they were really looking or not looking for things that were submersed or anything along that line. So they're looking at surface stuff, thus the AWACS. The AWACS has the ability to do ship tracking as well. So again, big worry. And then further confirmation, U.S. Air Force conducts the latest quick sink exercise. Now, this took place down near Panama. It was out in the Gulf of Mexico. But again, it was targeting taking out naval vessels, right? Cargo ships, whatever it may be, right? This one got hit. And confirmation, again, Club Ks is going to be a big worry for them. So, all right, let's talk as we get into what is flying in and out. This is Dover. And you'll notice here a lot of 747 activity. Okay, key is where it's headed, Europe. All right, there we go. This one's headed to Israel. That's an Israeli 747 that came in and got their stuff. And then, of course, RZE, Ramstein. We go down a little further, more RZE. And yeah, let's move on. Okay, over here to Ramstein, you can see the Atlas Airs arriving. Notice the amount of Valor, the C-130s, Herky C-130s, Reach C-17s. Very active and busy. Notice also you got a Dignitary, which is a blue and white right here, the Spar 81 coming into Ramstein. Yeah, and then here's some Omni flights. This is picking up illegals, taking them into JFK, bringing them straight into the United States. And they do that pretty frequently. And then this is going to be, yet again, another Atlas Air coming in, 747. So we got some heavy lifts going on. All right. Now, this is the Brits. I had nothing from the U.S. transportation side, so no camber flights were active. But you can see this as they come across the Brits going down what looks to be Yuma and out of Florida. Yeah, out of Central Florida. So, and then, of course, the Middle East. All right, German Air Force. Now, notice, in and out of the Middle East, in and out of India. Very strange. We've seen them all over the place. So they seem to be flexing as well. Not as much as the Navy. You get over here to the Navy, you get into the Middle East, you can see all of the assets from a Navy perspective that are being rerouted and focused into the Middle East. This tells you things are about to go hot. You don't move this amount of stuff against the threat of someone like Iran, who really isn't let's get real, folks. The only threat that they are is because of the nukes or the nuke capability that we gave them. But outside of that, Iran's not a big threat, okay? So why have all of this go in? You could probably handle them with maybe 2 carrier groups. This is overkill, but that tells you there's something afoot, something is up, okay? All right. Now this, we're going to get into RZE Poland. Remember, this is Ukraine right here. And we drop down a little bit, and I'm just going to go through. I've got a Western Global showing up from Washington Dulles. We've got the Belgium Air Force there. We have National Cargo there, 747. We have base commanders coming in. Another base commander. This is Atlas Air, 747. Very, very busy and active going into the forward operating base in Ukraine. So eyes on that as we get a little closer. But look at this. This is, you remember that Zelensky was the guy that set up Trump. Right, that he got impeached on because of his conversation with Zelensky, which was, now we know he was baited. But look at this. U.S. is lining up a possible Zelensky replacement. Yeah, they're sunsetting Zelensky in his little skippity-doo-dah shoes. All right. Now, the interesting piece is we don't know anything about this guy, but I think they're just trying to get somebody in that isn't Zelensky, because they know Trump, as soon as he gets in, is going to kill all the funding, is going to do everything he can to end all of this. And so they're putting somebody else in that may be a little more of a war footing for Ukraine. Zelensky doesn't have it. I mean, let's be real here. Okay. Now, speaking of Ukraine, retired U.S. pilots could fly Ukraine's F-16s. So this is from our Rhino. He's not even in hiding anymore. Lindsey Graham, everybody knows he is definitely a Rhino. He's just straight up a Democrat in hiding, so to speak. So, but look at this. Talking about, now this is the interesting piece. He didn't say exactly that, but he said NATO, which includes the United States. But he's basically saying, hey, we could see them, U.S. pilots, F-16 pilots that have been retired, come in and fight for freedom, for Ukraine. So anyway, eyes on that. This also tells you what really, if you read between the lines, that Ukrainian pilots are not ready to fly. And that they're trying to bridge the gap. They know, look, we've given them F-16s, but we don't have enough pilots. They're not trained yet. They're not fully ready to go. As soon as those things get in the air, they're going to get popped. So anyway, all right, let's move on over here to this side. Poland inks a deal for 48 Patriot air defense launchers. That's a lot of money. Let me tell you, they are getting ready to drop some serious coin, $1.23 billion. But it doesn't end there. They also, on Friday, inked a deal to buy hundreds of the AIM-120 and the AMRAAM. Those are air-to-air missiles. On top of that, though, they're about to announce in the coming days that they're signing another deal for the purchase of 96 Apache combat helicopters, another $9 billion. So it's going to replace all the Mi-24 Russian ones. Okay. All right, down to this piece. Doesn't end there. This is how you know, folks, everybody's breakneck speed headed to war. Everybody is putting air defense and all their chips in. U.S. approves selling 16 HIMARS to Norway. So Norway is stacking them up as well as Poland. We already know Germany's doing it. In fact, Germany was doing it long before any of this ever took place. They're talking about putting in MEADS, and that is an air defense system, much like the Patriot system. Okay, I know because I worked on that program. Okay, look at this. This is a fire at the nuclear power plant, and they say it's unlikely it was caused by a drone attack, but you can see those are flames down here. That's a lot of black smoke. This is a cooling tower. Not a good situation. They are saying basically this, the IAEA, that they're really concerned because the team has not been able, this is your big takeaway, right? The team has not been able to draw definitive conclusion on the basis of the findings and observations so far. That's not good. All right. This power plant, if it pops, if this thing goes, the nuke, goes into a meltdown, you could have a very catastrophic event. It's right there near Crimea. It's in that waterway that we've looked at in the past. But it also, if you look at the winds and where it could carry radiation, if you had some type of Chernobyl event, and then it would impact Russia big time. Right? Okay, and here's another Bohica. Now this isn't Ukraine, and we don't get as upset about this because we know that they need our help. I'm glad we haven't turned our back on them, but it says U.S. is releasing $3.5 billion in military aid to Israel. So buckle up. And then, of course, we showed you the carrier groups. The U.S. Navy Carrier Strike Group equipped with F-35s headed to the Middle East, as well as a submarine packed with Tomahawk missiles. Again, the U.S. Navy is flexing. We see it over here on this. And it is all hands on deck. All right. And last piece here, the Iron Dome, did it fail? They say that overnight the Hezbollah basically launched about 30 rockets into Israel. And you can see in the video here that actually a lot of impacts. You can see the explosions off here in the distance where they're hitting. And so, yeah, not good. Not good that this thing would fail. Right? Not a time for that to be not working properly. Right? All right, folks. Listen, that's going to do it for SITREP today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. We will keep eyes on Israel, and if anything changes, we will certainly come out and talk about it as things unfold. May or may not happen, but we'll see. That's it. Stay frosty. Keep that powder dry. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out.